I know what you're thinking. We want you dead. So why would we help you? It would make more sense for us to help him, right? Well, this guy's different.
And if he isn't stopped soon, then his actions will bring misery and destruction to our world too.
There's no way I'm joining up with someone I'm gonna have to kill eventually.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News Anime Night, where we take a particular season of anime, we dissect it episode by episode, and give you guys our thoughts on it. I'm your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's had an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And joining me is my lovely wife, Andrea, who I think we've run the joke into the ground, but is it warm enough for you yet?
It's always been warm.
Not always.
I know.
We do hit winter weather sometimes.
I'm talking about now.
So at this point, Andrea, we are 5 episodes in to a 13 episode season. So I kind of want to just do an overall kind of check-in here. How are you feeling about season 2 so far?
Probably not as good as the first season, but it's okay, you know.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It's unfortunately, compared to the first season, there's a lot of build-up here. So like the stakes were pretty much set in the first episode of Shield Hero, and then you kind of knew a status quo there. Here, it's taken a while to build up. We've gotten to know new characters, specifically Rishia, Ost, and a number of others, including Eclair, that not really sure of their importance or anything like that. And so 5 episodes in, I do remember when this season debuted, there was a lot of complaints about the early episodes of it being slow, and I kind of agree. It's been very slow to build. Hopefully, in my experience, sometimes slow to build stories have great payoffs in the end. I'm hoping that's the case here. I'm sure that's kind of your viewpoint too. But I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably just one of those side things. It's like, it's okay, but I think I'd be more interested when they start maybe going with the Cardinal Heroes versus the
7-star heroes? I don't even know if they're going to fight them.
Or whatever, or, you know, what's their involvement between the two, you know?
Oh,
groups.
so basically you want to go back to the status quo of the waves, roughly.
Well, not just that, but now that you're introducing those
7-star heroes, you want to meet them?
Well, I'm just wondering, you know, what's going to happen between, you know.
I think heroes are going to be kind of the big thing of the series, and we're going to have tons of vassal weapons. That it is interesting that Naofumi's world has, if you count them, 11 vassal heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have the 4 cardinal heroes, and then you have the 7-star heroes. And we have met heroes from other worlds, specifically Lark, Therese, and Glass. We don't know if they're all from the same world, or coming from the same world, because we all know that these are like alternate reality Japanese people, ultimately. At least that's the assumption, is that they're all from Japan. But I don't know if Glass, Therese, and Lark are all from the same world, or coming from the same world, if that makes sense. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the 7-star Shiras. Do you see the problem with saying it, people? The Cardinal Heroes is at least easier. But yeah, it'll be interesting when the 7-star heroes show up, or at least if any of them do. So, getting into the episode, literally named Ostori. We are continuing our journey at the reveal that we had, where Lark and crew are immediately caught by Naofumi's crew when they are also exploring the insides of the spirit tortoise. And immediately, I love the first thing that Naofumi brings up is, what is that, Glass? What's with the new getup? Do you want to give your thoughts on that one? Because like the last couple of times we've seen her, you know, she is the fan hero, roughly, and so the kimono has made sense. But now she's in like this, I don't know I don't know what to call it, a halter breastplate, because there's literally nothing in the back. And on top of that, it's like covering her neck, but only the front part of her neck.
Are you saying it's better or worse than compared to?
I'm asking you what you think.
No, I'm just saying. I'm like, compared to that one.
I'm saying it's weird. It doesn't make sense.
True, but compare to her versus Kaine from Nier, that interesting getup that she wears.
It's not even on the same wavelength to be able to But what do you want me to? Do you want me to call you a hussy?
I'm just saying they pick the weirdest outfits.
Yeah, I think the kimono works better. This one is kind of weird and out of left field. Even Naofumi kind of says that, like, what's with that getup? And he even brings it up to the girls later on. So that's kind of funny. But ultimately we find out that Lark, Therese, and Glass are here because another hero from another world is trying to take over the spirit tortoise. He has tried to do this before with another, what is the word they used? Guardian beast? Is that what they called it?
I think they called it like...
He's tried to take over another guardian beast for the same reasons, and so they're here to stop him. And even propose a temporary alliance, which Naofumi promptly slaps down. And I do understand his reasoning. I'm not giving crap about that. He's basically saying, I don't want to have you be on the same side of people that I will eventually have to kill.
Yep.
Because that... I get that. That muddies up the water, and if he's got to fight them, although I do think he's going to find another way. If he has to fight them, he doesn't want to get too close to them, kind of deal. But ultimately, the alliance is kind of rejected, and they all go their separate ways. To which the party's kind of torn about it. They agreed with Naofumi, right? They agreed with Naofumi, but they still thought it would have been a good idea to team up. So at that point, we get to kind of follow 2 or 3 different stories. We're following.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to English. We're following Lark's crew as they try to find the heart of the spirit tortoise. We're following Naofumi's crew as they try to find the heart of the spirit tortoise, while also looking for this other hero. And then we also cut back to Queen Morelia and Eclair, basically stating, the way things are with Naofumi's crew, because we're also being shown that the spirit tortoise is starting to regenerate. So, like, we have to endure, like, this 2-minute long look at what might have been the heart of the spirit tortoise, but ultimately ended up being its neck, trying to reform the head. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't need to see it reform, but thanks. And ultimately, she just kind of says, if the spirit tortoise revives, then we will raise up arms against it again and try to take it down so that Naofumi can do what he's going to do. And all are in agreement. And so, that's great and all. They all learn friendship in the heart of the cards, I guess. But then we cut back to, I think it was Naofumi's crew first, who thought that they had found... No, it was Lark's crew that found the heart first. And so they immediately state, like, okay, well, we've just got to take it out. And then immediately we cut to Naofumi's crew, as it looks like they found the heart. And they also get to meet the... I don't even like how they say it in this one. He is the book hero. Because he is the wielder of the book vassal weapon. And his name is Kio Ethnenia, I think is how you say it.
We could just pretend he's like Zexion.
Kio Ethnenia is how you're supposed to say it. No, he is... No, that's not my problem. I wouldn't have called him the book hero or the book vassal weapon. I would have gone with the tome. Because, like, it is a big book, so you could easily say, like, it's a magical tome. So True. He could have been the tome hero, and that would have sounded a little bit better. But the book hero?
Well, maybe a lot of people in the U.S. wouldn't know that term very well.
Then they need to educate themselves better.
Or probably younger generations.
If they read Harry Potter has said tome.
Well, I don't know.
So the Harry Potter generation, if you don't know what a tome is, then I don't know what to do for you. But we get to meet this guy. He's off his rocker. He's very arrogant. I think that can be very, very well stated. He doesn't look like he has, at least to me, he doesn't look like he has all of his marbles. And he's very condescending towards everybody, including Naofumi, who's like, oh, so you're the shield hero. I guess I should be afraid and whatnot. And he's just not. And kind of keeps a lot of things close to the vest, but did mention that the other 3 heroes are technically fighting a fake heart that he had put in, that the more times that they kill it, it will multiply. And we then cut back to them where they're doing that and they're losing and they're getting their asses handed to them. Cut back to Naofumi and crew, and Kyo and Naofumi kind of go through a verbal fencing, as it were, and nothing really happens out of it aside from the Kyo basically makes it sound like, yeah, you can go ahead and take out the tortoise's heart and it's still not going to stop me. To which they immediately, he then leaves, and they immediately do just that. They kill the heart, but they do realize that Ost gets hurt by it. So at that point, they know they're going the right direction, right? And it actually is kind of cool to see Ralph Talia have tears while she is cutting the heart in half, because she knows what that means to Ost Horai. To which Ost immediately passes out. Then we cut to, I'm guessing is basically a dream sequence, rather, where she sees this giant stone, touches it, and immediately remembers everything, including the fact that she is yet another woman with a crest right above her boobs. I wonder if the mangaka had some kind of weird fascination with that.
I'm sure they did.
Because we have 2 slave crests, and then we have whatever you want to call Philos, and then we have Ost's. And hers at least looks like a turtle, so at that point, it's interesting in that regard. But she then wakes up, to which, at that point, Naofumi's like, oh, fuck. Because that means the tortoise isn't dead. And she's like, I remember everything now, and I am going to take you to the true place where you can defeat the spirit tortoise. Casts an ancient spell that basically rips open a door in the fibrous tissue of the spirit tortoise. Because we're not in caves anymore. We're actually inside the tortoise. And they immediately go down to a very ornate chamber that basically looks like something in a castle, not necessarily something in a guardian beast. And we find out that this is the place of the spirit tortoise's core. And also, I should say, we did have a side story happen too, where we saw an hourglass that showed all of the souls that the spirit tortoise had collected. And so we get a little bit of insight into that, but Naofumi didn't destroy it. I think because he thought it would hurt the souls inside.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the reasoning, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah. So we're in the core room, and Kyo then rejoins us and likes to tell Naofumi how much of a fool he is, because he basically says that you could have killed the spirit tortoise at any given moment, because Ost is a manifestation, not a familiar. She is a part of the spirit tortoise. She's like a spiritual echo of the spirit tortoise.
She's like this spiritual manifestation, like human manifestation.
So she's not a familiar. She's not a familiar. She is directly connected to the spirit tortoise, which I guess still means she's a familiar, because familiars are connected to their users. So at that point, we basically get the reveal of like why Ost in her debut told the shield hero to kill her, is because that's the way to stop this. Is you have to kill, if you kill her, then he didn't have to go inside the tortoise. He didn't have to go to the core chamber or anything like that. What did you think of the reveal there?
Somehow we kind of almost pretty much pinpointed, like, I mean, in some way.
We already
it's like,
knew she was connected. So.
No, but you kind of wonder, it's like, didn't we joke about whether she would have been the one that was like the one who was like the tortoise all along? It just in a different.
I think you made the joke at one point and said like, what would happen if she was the tortoise all along, or something like that.
Something like that.
And I'm gonna say this for the record: I still don't trust Ost, even with this reveal. To me, the reveal is like, you say tomato, I say tomato. You know, because as far as I'm concerned, a familiar is connected to its user. She's just as connected as any familiar is to the user. I guess the only difference is that when the bats and the yetis die, the tortoise doesn't really feel it. So maybe they're like the true form of familiars, but she's more like an extension of his soul, kind of thing. And so at that point, not really surprised. I think we're haggling words here, and I was wondering, as soon as she said she was a familiar, that's why, if that was the reason why she said kill me. But the memory thing makes me wonder, how would she have known that would work? Because she says at the end of the first episode, like, you must kill me. So how would she know that would solve it if she doesn't have her memories?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. So.
Yeah, there's a lot not explained here.
Unless it was the book hero that did something to our memory.
Maybe. I'll give you a maybe there. I mean, we do see that he's a bit of a magic user, so at that point,
like maybe she could have known to ask to be killed, but then maybe he interfered with.
Mm-hmm. I think it'll actually get interesting, because eventually I think Lark, Therese, and Glass will get joining into this fight, and it would, because they kind of hinted that they might have known more about Kyo, but they didn't say everything. So at that point, it'll be interesting to learn a little bit more about him. But the episode basically ends with the spirit tortoise getting its head back, and the armies are basically looking at round 2. And so at that point, like, that's kind of the wrap up here, but we do have quite a bit to discuss. And that is Kyo. I think Kyo is going to be an interesting addition here, because not only does he introduce a vassal weapon that isn't necessarily a weapon, but it also introduces what I've kind of suspected with Glass, is that there are also spellcaster vassal heroes as well. So it's not just that you'll get sword, shield, spears, or bow, or anything like that. We're also going to get probably a magician's staff, a wand, a fan, stuff like that. So that makes things interesting with the vassal heroes. I would like to know a little bit more about Kyo, because I would like to see what basically took him off his rocker, like what happened there. So it would be cool if we got a little bit of a backstory, which I suspect Glass knows about. What do you think about Kyo? Like, is he a good villain so far?
Well, he's an interesting surprise there. But
he's arrogant as F. We can both agree on that. And you already can, like, just from his garb, you can tell he's got a bunch of tricks up his sleeve. You notice what looked like vials on his chest? I'm guaranteeing you, he's got, like, tons of trap spells on his body. So it'll be an interesting bout to try and take him down. I don't know how successful they're gonna be with it, but I mean, because Glass has already admitted they've had to take him down before, so they didn't kill him. So overall, what was positive about this episode, Andrea?
Just introducing the new.
I like the fact they introduced Kyo. I like the fact that it was not just, oh, you have to kill the heart, because that was going to be really easy. And they did make it a lot more interesting with the introduction of the core. The other thing I also found interesting was Kyo was talking about other heroes that he'd met in this world. And the presumption that Naofumi had was that it was the 7-star heroes. But could it also be that the cardinal heroes were met too?
It could have been.
Maybe he went to them to test how strong the heroes of this world were?
Could be.
because it made it sound like he knew the Cardinal Heroes too. I'm not saying he didn't know about the 7 stars. He might have known about them too, because the guess that I have is because of his book, he probably has the ability to teleport. So at that point, he can go to many places at once. And if he knows how to get into a guardian beast before, it makes sense to me. So at that point, what do we think? He just kicked their ass and thought, oh yeah, I'm going to win? Or do we think that there may be something else he did?
Well, we still don't know what
Maybe he poisoned them all. And that will affect the shield hero later on. I don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know what the other Cardinal heroes are doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know one thing they're doing. They're whining about the fact that they're not as cheating as Naofumi. Because that's what they do. They whine and bitch about how they're not as strong as Naofumi. And we also know that they're freaking cowards because they didn't want to take on the tortoise. So we know those, but yeah, they're not involved so far, at least not yet. I mean, we got 8 more episodes for them to show up, so maybe they have a change of heart. I'll say Kyo was probably the biggest positive of this episode. The reveal of Ost and her figuring out what she is
wasn't a big surprise.
No, it really wasn't. And the whole I'm starting to remember everything is starting to get old.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the whole concept of her and Rishia, because it really just still feels like she's placating Rishia, and it's starting to get on my nerves. Aside from that, I don't really have anything else. I like the fact that that Lark and crew are involved, and they do have a good reason to be involved. I just wish they would have told Naofumi more. But maybe if they teamed up, they could have.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, why team up when you're just going to end up turning it on each other later?
But we both know they're going to team up in the end of this arc.
That's pretty
So
true.
why not just cut to the chase now for me?
Yeah, before Vittoria tells you gotta play nice.
You gotta play ball.
You gotta play nice
through the weird cowlick radar.
You gotta play nice in the sandbox now for me.
Even with Lark? Okay. I like the fact that Philo also calls him Mr. Scythe. He doesn't even call him anything else. He's just Mr. Scythe.
I did love it when they were coming to like an exit and they're like, are we gonna be thrown up or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, it couples really well with the previous episode where they thought they were gonna get pooped out. So I'm okay with it. If they had actually gotten to the neck wound, I would have been surprised, but because this thing is freaking huge. I actually was of the opinion before he said, I cast a spell. I'm like, considering how big this thing is, it probably needs multiple hearts to be able to pump that much blood throughout the body. So if he hadn't said that and said, oh, well, I cast this enchantment, it's a fake heart, I'd be like, oh, well, they both found a heart.
Yeah, I'm just kind of glad that they're like the Scythe heroes, like not the one who found the original heart, because that would have just sucked.
No, and in fact, Teresa and Glass kind of get mad at him because he keeps cutting them in half. It's almost like he didn't learn from the Hydra. Cut off one head, 2 more take its place. Okay, so those are positives. What did this episode do wrong? Ost. Ost is the real problem here. I'm not interested in her arc at all. It was funny to see the boob tattoo of the turtle. And I still don't trust her. I still don't. I think at some point, if she's an extension of the Spirit Tortoise's soul, he's just gonna take her over and try to kill Naofumi. So I still don't trust her. I can't really say that Kyo is a downside or a negative because of his presence. I will say the hourglass scene was kind of redundant. Just because, like, okay, that's cool. Why not just free the souls? Oh, wait, we're not gonna do that because we need to find the heart. Well, you could have freed some souls, and then they could go back to their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Or be at peace, or something like that. But no, we didn't do that. So overall, out of 5, what would you give Ost Horai? The episode, not the character.
I would probably give it a 4.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It's still pretty down the middle for me. It's still building. I want to see actual conflict with Kyo. I'm glad that there's a villain now that we can get behind.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of glad we got.
That's pretty much why I'm giving it the 0.5, is because we now have a villain, a focus, which up until this point we really haven't had it, aside from giant turtle that's trying to kill the world. In order to save it, and that's I'm not even going to get into that. So there you go. That is episode 5 in the books. So when we come back, we will go into episode 6 of 13 of Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. If you're brand spanking new, make sure to give us a subscribe on YouTube, as well as you can check us out on Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Player.fm, as well as Spotify. Give us reviews there, be able to rate it there. We appreciate all of the support that you are able to give, and we will see you guys next time for episode 6 of Shield.